shame, because she is going to miss out on Sharon Melnick. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do it without her, without Cynthia, but we're going to try. We're going to give it a good try today. Now, our guest, Sharon Melnick, Dr. Sharon Melnick, actually, is a clinical psychologist and global authority on women's success, leadership, resilience, and power. Her approach combines leadership practices and behavior change methods that she's developed through years and years of research and psychology research at Harvard Medical School. She's a best-selling author of Success Under Stress. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. She's trained and coached over 40,000 people at over 50 Fortune 500 companies. She's, like I said, a best-selling author and CEO of a Horizon Point Incorporated, a global coaching and training firm. She's host of the great podcast, The Power Shift, and she is also a fellow Marshall Goldsmith 100 coach and a Thinkers 50 2021 Global Coaching and Mentoring Award nominee. Now, her new book is In Your Power, React Less, Regain Control, and Raise Others. Sharon, welcome.
I'm so excited to be here, Rhett. Thank you so much.
I love it. And I'm excited about this book. We've been trying to connect and talk about it. So I'm glad we're finally getting to do that. And so you wrote this great, Success Under Stress. And you and I talked about this book before in the last program. And what a great book, because that really gave people tools for staying calm, confident, productive, and avoiding burnout. What was the journey between that and the work that you did on that and the work you've been doing since that led you to write In Your Power? Because I think that there's probably a story there, I'm guessing, and why, in those intervening years, what was that journey?
Yeah, you have great intuition, and actually there is a story. And the publisher of In Your Power, Wiley, reached out to me during the pandemic years and said, the whole world is stressed out, and how about if we do some sort of a Success Under Stress 2.0 idea? Because people were really looking for skills around resilience. And my response to them was, thank you so much for reaching out. And, there's been a lot of ink spilled and a lot of videos about kind of how to deal with stress, how to take a deep breath and walk around the block and, understanding our nervous system and all kinds of things. And I said, the world does not need another book on kind of how to deal with generic stress.
Right.
However, what people are really facing these days is that when it comes to burnout, the way that we think about it is that it's because we have too much to do or things are too complex. But I don't think burnout comes from having too much to do. I think it comes from having too little power. And so I said, what people are experiencing these days is that many people, they don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They don't feel like they can make the impact that they're here for, that we're having much more of an appreciation in our personal relationships of how our issues are coming up, or we're getting triggered in situations where, realizing that there's difficult people in our lives that cause us to emotionally react and to be stressed out. We find ourselves in situations at work where it's not only that we're working long hours, but it's the sense of I said something, or I'm not being supported, or there's nothing that I could do about it. And it is activating an uncertainty in me about should I stay or should I go? And then I'm just resentful every time my manager doesn't recognize or give me credit. Or so it's more that people are kind of living, in this mental swirl, in this emotional hijack. And really, when you're kicked out of your power, the way that we generally try to make the situation better makes it worse, or at least just doesn't make it better because it just perpetuates it. And if you say something, if you tried and it didn't work, then you're increasingly frustrated and hopeless. There's increasing, kind of friction between you and the other people or the circumstances. So, and it's really only the moment that you step into your power that you shift the power dynamic. And from there, there's all kinds of solutions that are available to you. So, to conclude the story, I said to the publishers, I said, so, I think really what's going on is that a lot of people are feeling out of their power. And if you want me to write a book on how they can be in their power, then, we got a deal. And they said yes. And Michael's here today.
So let me ask you: so it seems like this is really there's a lot of that plays into this. Number one, it's a lot of self-awareness, and there's a lot of self-talk, what the dialogue that you're having with yourself. What are to get your power back? Or I guess maybe the question is, what is being in your power? What does that mean?
Yeah, thanks. So let's start with a strong foundation here. So let's start with when you're out of your power. So you get kicked out of your power when you feel like you can't control the situation, right? And let me give you an analogy so everyone can just really get it like this. So when we're out of our power, as we go through our day, it feels like we're the thermometer. When you are like the thermometer, it's like other people act and you can only react. It's like other people are determining, or the circumstances are determining how the situation unfolds for you. You feel more like the casualty than the creator of your circumstances in your life. And that's what it's like to be out of your power. And then, you get into kind of a mental swirl, and, you're resentful, you're blaming, you feel kind of done to, you react emotionally. This is what it's like. And so what you want is to shift from being the thermometer to being the thermostat. When you're the thermostat, you set the tone. You decide who you are and how you view yourself. You decide your yes and your no. You have an idea about how this whole situation could be better, or how we could do things better. And then you know how to bring everyone along with your vision. So when you're the thermostat, it's like you get the outcome that you want, but it's not only you get the outcome that you want, but actually you make it better for everyone around you. And that's the thrill. And that's what everybody wants, is you want to, have your mental and emotional, physical, spiritual energy going towards making a difference. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like you actually like made an impact, and feeling like it's, kind of less effort. Then it creates like a virtuous cycle, a positive. Then things just get better and better and better. And you're able to actually create a culture in which you and everyone else can thrive. And then, you're in your power. And there's kind of three features of being in your power. If anyone just wants to do like a quick self check here, is, when
Yes.
you're in your power, you have a sense of agency. So you feel like, oh, okay, there's things that I can control, or you're focusing on what you can control in this
Mhm.
situation. You feel like you have options. There's things that you could do. You're not just done to or powerless. When you're in power, the second thing is that you have sovereignty. When you have sovereignty,
Okay.
again, it's like you can create the weather inside of yourself, the climate inside of you. It's like you decide who you are, and you're not outsourcing your evaluation of yourself to other people. You're not internalizing overly what you think other people think about you. You're not acting based on what you think they will think about you. It's like you're
Right.
own, kind of yourself. And then the third thing to be in your power, it's not only just being in your power, but using your power for the good of all. So you have a sense of efficacy, like what you say influences, it lands. You're effective at making change. It's not like, you're trying things, you're doing things, but it's not having any effect, or just completely demoralizing. So agency, sovereignty, and efficacy. Then you're in your
Is it what's interesting to me about this is this seems like you're saying that everybody can learn how to do this. So this isn't just for somebody that's already sort of in power
power.
or in control or a leader already. This is for everybody. And so everybody
Absolutely.
can, you think everybody can feel this way?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because actually as human beings, it's hardwired. It's kind of our factory settings as human beings. We're set up to focus on the things that we can't control, right? Because we're literally like, we're always scanning
Yeah.
our environment for like, what's threatening, what's going to take
Right.
away, what's
Yeah.
mine, what's dangerous, whatever. So we're literally like set up to not be in our power.
That makes a lot of sense.
But the moment that you just are intentional, and you focus on, your 50%, what you can control in any situation, literally from that moment, you like the whole situation becomes a different situation for you, once you start being impeccable for your 50%. And once you, like when you know who you want to show up as in the situation and you start showing up with those qualities, then you're interacting in the situation on your own terms. It's already a different situation. So
Right.
you can see that, and there's many more skills than that, but it's just an example of like no matter what situation you're in, if you're being overlooked for promotion, if you're a leader who just can't get their team members to like listen and
Yeah.
cooperate, with your vision, if you can't get your management peers to like hear your good ideas, if you can't get people to listen to your funding and or fund you, or if it's a difficult family member or a family of origin member or child, I mean, it could be kind of any of these situations, and we react, and when we react, we leak our power, we give away our power, right? So it's like
Totally.
anybody can just get started focusing on what you can control, and then you can tool up, the book In Your Power, it's kind of an overstuffed stocking of all these tools to be effective in any one of these situations. The book is based on the idea of the 12 power portals, meaning in any situation that you feel stuck or you're not kind of getting what you need in the situation, it's like 12 different angles, 12 different ways where it's like, oh, this is like a whole new way of looking at this situation and a whole skill set.
Yeah, I want to talk about those because I think it's really easy for us to get emotionally hijacked. I was talking to a person I coached yesterday, and that ate up the whole time that we talked because they had let themselves be emotionally hijacked by a situation, by a person, one person, and we see that in our lives all the time, family members, friends. I mean, it's how do we stop from getting emotionally hot? How do we like when we feel it coming on or when we see it happening, how do we stop it, take a time out and say, let me reframe? Are there some tools that we can use, or is there a way that we can sort of stop that from happening to us?
Absolutely.
That's what
Absolutely.
yeah, we want to get to that. We got to
I
get
had
to
a
that.
feeling I'd have something up here up my sleeve there. You're right.
I figured you might. Yeah.
So, well, let's just dig into a couple of them. So, again, this whole idea of that you want to experience the situation in a way where you feel like you have more control.
Yeah.
We're going to get into kind of something a little more psychological in just a sec, but here's like my go-to empowering question, which will just immediately change your whole lens on the situation.
Okay.
So you can shift your question, and you can ask, how might this be happening for me, not to me?
Okay.
Because then that's immediately like, oh, this is a learning opportunity, as opposed to like, I'm totally powerless and this person is getting like winning, over me,
Mm-hmm.
which you're just totally, then you're totally in reaction land. So
Right.
that's like an example of like a mindset kind of shift. And immediately it's like you immediately shift from like victim to victor in the situation. So
Yeah.
that's something that you could do. Um, and there's so many examples of that. Like I'll just give one example. So I was coaching a woman who was very talented in HR, and she had been passed over twice for a promotion. And when I got on the phone with her, that day, she said, my colleague had just been promoted, who's been here less time than me, and was very upsetting to her. And understandably so, it was not like, objectively,
Right.
uh, accurate for her talents. And so she was upset. We were starting to kind of talk it through. And I actually just asked her that question. And she thought for a minute and she said, you know something? I don't even want that promotion. Like, I'm doing work that's 2 levels above. And she said that really helped me to realize that, like, I'm not on the same timeline and trajectory as my, company is. And she's, getting a job now that's like 2 levels above. She's like going for 2 roles now. So it's like just an example of, like, we could have gone totally down that rabbit hole of resentment. You know what I mean? Like, just eject
Hmm.
right out of it. So there's that. And then also, something that's just very, like, all of us really want to be aware of is that when we react, and by the way, I think this is the number one thing that people ask, like, how do I not react? This is like everybody these days, and,
Oh,
and
that is so hard, Sharon. That is so hard.
well, and for me, it's like, you write a book you need to read, right? I mean, don't we always do that? So,
Boy.
and
Yeah.
so, but what you really want to know is that, our a reaction, when you think about a reaction, is what it is that we all carry kind of like a kindling inside of ourselves, which is like a long-standing way that we feel, like a conviction that we have, a belief, a feeling that we have about ourselves. And everyone has different words, but it could be somewhere in the range of, like, I'm not good enough, or, something. We all have
Right.
some version of that. And so when we react, what it is that it's a reactivation of this kindling that we have inside of us. So when somebody in a meeting says, I disagree with you, or you're wrong, or your team did this, or something like that,
Right.
it's like their words or behavior is like a match that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
ignites that kindling, reactivates that kindling that you already had inside of you. So the best thing that you can do to not react, and that's a little bit more root cause, is to be aware of kind of the story that you're telling about the facts, because
Right.
usually if you kind of dig down a few associations, they shouldn't have said that to me, and you scratch the surface of that a few times, and you ask, and what does it mean about you that they said this about you? But usually it comes down to that kindling. It's usually that's
Yeah.
really that person is reactivating a way that I feel about myself. And so that's really where the action is for you to heal, for you to come into your own, for you to know how you develop that story about yourself, and that it was really an internalization of what other people projected onto you, wasn't even really about you. I can explain more about that if you want to ask. And so
Yeah.
that's really where kind of it comes from, and that's our opportunities to kind of see the situation more objectively, not subjectively, and to tend to you know um, moving into the current state and no longer living from your kindling.
So I mean, this is a great. This seems to me too, also as a great way to have tough conversations and actually have and to really rethink how you have conversations with people just in general. I mean,
So true.
because we often start out with probably things that trigger people. I would imagine we often, particularly in the work setting, we don't start out conversations maybe the most productively. Our meetings, when we have a tough meeting, we're it sounds like we can automatically just trigger people from the very beginning by just uh, with things that we say, and that's so being very conscious of that's important. Um, talk
And
about.
people
Go
trigger
ahead. Go
us
ahead. No.
for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, talk about the 12. Give me some examples of the 12. Give some other examples if you could.
Of the 12 power portals.
Power
Yeah,
portals, right?
absolutely. So, so what I was just sharing was from the portal. They all begin with P's. From the portal of psyche. So this is like the things that get activated for you that that set you up to react. But there's other portals. There's like the portal of physiology, which explains to you what goes on inside of you when you have a reaction, when you get into that kind of mental swirl. And there I show you how many ways that you really want to kind of clear that emotion through your system. So back to the idea of burnout, which was, is so pervasive these days, is that what we know about burnout is that emotions get activated, and then your kind of the stress hormones of that emotion are coursing through your body. And so what happens is that if we don't do anything to clear these emotions through our body, then these kind of stress hormones are just continuously like
Yeah.
doing wear and tear like cycles, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
throughout our system. And so what you want to do is you want to kind of bring closure to that emotional reaction, or you want to kind of close the cycle of that stress hormone, like have it run its course and then it's like done, so that it's not continuously running through your body. So I really encourage, and I give many examples, practical strategies in the book of how to clear these emotions through your body, and then so you kind of complete the cycle, and then at that point you can reconnect. What you really got to know, actually, like once you understand the brain, what's going on there, it's really like you really understand why you get into such a funk. It's like literally the emotional centers of your brain are activated and they're cut off from the rational thinking centers of your brain. It's like
Yeah.
they're calling a disconnected number.
Yeah.
Now you know when you're dealing with people, it's like if they're not doing it on purpose, like they really like
That's
can't
what's wrong with my teenagers. Oh, okay.
totally.
I got that. That makes sense.
And so, but people, we need to learn how to reconnect. You know what I mean? And so,
Right.
there's a number of ways that you can do that instantly. There's like breathing techniques. There's ways that you can do that. But it's like so that you move the emotions through your system, and then you can reconnect. And when you reconnect to your thinking centers, to the calm centers, then you can remember the big picture of like who you want to be in your identity, what your intention is, the bigger picture of your intention, as opposed to what you're tempted to, and just in the crunch of the moment is like, you just want them to stop doing what they're doing. You just want to win. You just want to relief. You know what I mean? Like that's all you can think about. You can't think of like constructive solutions. So you want to move the emotion through your body with constructive ways. And then you want to fill yourself back up with joy, with pleasure, with the good feels.
Yeah. Is there a way to get? And I know we're talking about the individual in a lot of ways, but is there a way to use this with a team? I mean,
Absolutely.
because I I'd love to be able to use this, with corporate teams and business teams and help them, because it seems to me if everybody is coming from this point of view, if everybody's coming from being in their power, then that's got to be a pretty high performing team that's going to be unstoppable. So how do you put this in use in a team setting?
That's absolutely right. You're really showing your experience, and kind of picking that up. And when a leader is in their power, they raise everyone around them. Right? It
Hmm.
sets a standard, kind of the way that you approach situations. So when you're in your power, you were able, and just by the way, I was just sharing with you a couple of the portals. The first 6 portals of the 12 are about being in your power, and the second
Okay.
6 portals are about how you use your power for good, right? So now we're getting into kind
Right.
of that, how you would interact with other people. And so when you're in your power, even just the way that you understand the situation is with a 3D perspective. it's not just like they're doing this to me. You know what I mean? They're stepping on my turf, or
Oh,
they didn't
that
get
drives me crazy. That drives me crazy. Yeah.
right. It's more like, you know, understanding what they're experiencing and their constraints and their motivation, what I'm experiencing, my motivations and constraints,
Right.
and then kind of what's going on kind of between the two of us. And then once you can be constructive in the way that you're thinking of it and more contextual, then there's a whole the portal of partnership, about how you engage people in solving joint problems, even when the other people don't think it's their problem, like they just want it the way they want it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when your come from is this way, when it's neutral, when it's respectful, when it's understanding, the whole context. And I really want everyone who's listening to appreciate that you have more power than you think. Like, even just as an example, like I was coaching a woman who on our first day, like the way she started our coaching was like, I just can't take it anymore. Like, and she was up to here working more than 80-hour weeks for months, and her manager was, at her from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. texting, and I need this and I need that. And everyone was feeling helpless. And so she was overwhelmed. And so it was kind of half like like trying to set boundaries, and half like just sharing her truth that she couldn't do it and didn't want to do it anymore.
Right.
She was feeling out of her power, as was everyone in that situation, but she had more power than she thought. So it's like we really understood like the whole situation, not just they're doing this to me, right? That's staying out of her
Mhm.
power. And then she brought in all the people who kind of were involved in, everything rolling onto everybody else's plate. And she had a vision of how it could be better. She kind of, influenced everyone to kind of come on board with this vision. They like changed, the way that they did business. She restructured it, whatever. And then everyone was like, no, actually, this is way better. Like, and no one's like
Yeah.
praised, and things aren't falling through the cracks. For everyone. And she was actually promoted 3 levels within a year, got a $95,000 retention bonus, because she was bringing more value. But she didn't realize she had any of this power. She was just like, they need to stop doing this to me. Right. So I'm just saying, it's like when we think about it that way, when we approach it. So she partnered, with them. She was effective at setting boundaries. She was effective at her influencing, and she didn't define her power based on her job description. She based it like she had more power in her position than like was written into the literal, like, you do this.
Yeah.
And everyone has that power, and you have the power to set the tone, to be the thermostat, to bring everyone along with you. And so when be the thermostat on your team, be the leader and the team member and the colleague who co-creates the weather on the team.
That's a beautiful way to sort of punctuate that and to illustrate that. I love that. So I hate it that we're almost at time, but so a couple questions. Where can people find it? And also, do you teach this? Do you do seminars, webinars, in person? Can a company bring you in to help sort of get their teams in alignment here and get in their power? Can people do that?
Yes, thank you so much for asking. So the book is, in your power. Everywhere you buy books, it should be there. Such as and for sure. So I do, training for companies, speaking at conferences.
I mean, and you've done it for some of the biggest in the world, so it's we know you can do it, and so that's so good. So they just reach out to you. We'll put the link in the site. They reach out to you and get with you on how to do that, right?
Yeah, inyourpowerbook.com or sharonmelnick.com, or find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you so much. And what I've found actually is that when leaders are in their power individually, that they're much more kind of effective and impactful. They reverse burnout, right? And working together as a team, they're more innovative. They sustain kind of their high performance over time in the communication, because instead of everybody interacting with everybody else's reactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody is much more intentional, and you can co-create the culture in which everyone can thrive. So I appreciate you asking.
No, that I love that last point. Right, if you get everybody to be intentional and stop the chaos, boy, you can do so much more. You can do so much more. That is so true. Well, Sharon, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rhett.